Alright, so today we're going to be taking a look at how to divide radicals. So yesterday we did adding, subtracting, and multiplying, but we didn't do dividing. And that's what we're going to be doing today. So you can see here that we're dividing by a radical 5 in this first example. Well, in math, what we want to do is we always want to simplify. And so when we simplify things with radicals, we never want radicals left in the denominator in our final answer. Leaving a radical in the denominator is leaving something unsimplified. It's like writing 5/10 instead of 1/2, right? It's not wrong, the value is not different, but it's not fully simplified. So there are certain techniques that we can use to rationalize, and we're going to start with the most basic, and that is when we have a monomial radical in the denominator, so one term. All right. So in this case, this is the square root of 5, right? So if I take a look at the radicand 5, I can actually break it down, and what I realize is that I only have one factor of 5 in there, right? Technically 1 and 5, but that 1 doesn't really affect any of the math. So I have a 5 in there. If I had two 5s, I could actually take out a pair, which is what a square root wants, and then I would have no more radicals. So what I'm going to do to rationalize and get this more simplified than what we have is I'm going to multiply by another pair, another 5, because now I have 2 of them. And when I have 2 of them, I'll actually be able to get rid of the entire radical, right? But remember that the rule in math is that if you do something to one side, you have to do it to the other. Well, in this case, that refers to the numerator and the denominator. So if I multiply the denominator by radical 5, I need to multiply my numerator by radical 5. Just notice one thing, that this is actually just equal to 1. Radical 5 divided by radical 5 is 1. So we're not changing the value of this problem because we're multiplying by 1. So let's go ahead and do the math here. If I do 2 times radical 5, I get 2 radical 5, and radical 5 times radical 5 is radical 25, and you might say, okay, well, we still have a radical in the denominator, but we can simplify that. So my numerator is still 2 radical 5, there's no simplifying that can be done there, but the square root of 25 is 5. Alright, so now I'm going to check. These two are like each other, right? These two are not. Please don't cancel these out, because this is a radical 5 and this is a 5. Those values are different. Radical 5 is 1 point something, right? Or 2 point something maybe. So, yeah, definitely 2 point something. But I want to check here. These two that are like each other, 2 and 5, can I simplify that? Can I simplify 2 over 5? I can't. So this right here is my final answer. And I just want to show you real quick that these are actually the same. If I start with my original problem, 2 divided by radical 5, right? That decimal is 0.894, so on. Now if I do this in the calculator, 2 radical 5, divided by 5, I get the same exact value. So they're the same. But we prefer this answer over this one because there's no radical in the denominator. We actually don't care if there are radicals in the numerator, that's okay. So this is our final answer. Alright, next we're going to do one with a higher root. So we have the cube root of 1/2. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and separate this into 2 radicals. The cube root of 1 in the numerator and the cube root of 2 in the denominator. Alright, now the cube root of 1 is 1. 1 times 1 times 1 3 times is just 1. So I can simplify that. Alright, but I still have a cube root of 2 in the denominator. So if you look at the top, the shortcut here was kind of like whatever's in the denominator, just multiply by that same thing. But that's because we needed 2 of the same thing, because this is a square root. Well, this is a cube root, so we need 3 of something. So right here, I can't break down 2 any further, so all I have is 1, 2. But I need a group of 3. So what I don't have that would complete the group is I would actually need 2 more 2's, right? I already have 1, and if I had 2 more, then I'd have 3. So what we're going to do is we're going to multiply by 2 more 2's. Right? Again, I have 1 here and I have 2 here, so in total I would have 3. Alright, so I'm going to do the same thing in the numerator. 2 squared is just 4. So I'm going to rewrite it that way. So I'm going to keep my first fraction the same, and I'm going to multiply this by cube root of 4. Alright, that's 2 squared. So 1 times the cube root of 4 is just the cube root of 4. Right? And then the cube root of 2 times the cube root of 4, well, they have the same index, so I can just do 2 times 4, and that gives me 8, which is perfect, because the cube root of 8 is 2. And that's your final answer. Okay, I can't take the cube root of 4. Cube root of 4 is not 2, that's the square root of 4. And I definitely can't simplify 4 over 2, because this is a cube root of 4 and a 2. So those are not like each other, so we don't want to mess with those.